Welcome to the Recommended Daily Value Podcast, your daily dose into the health and wellness world.
Welcome back to the Recommended Daily Value Podcast, where we dive into everything health, fitness, and nutrition related 5 days a week in 5 minutes or less. This podcast is brought to you by Umzu, and I'm your host, Tyler Woodward. If you're not already, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, because today we're reviewing Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep. You've probably heard of Matthew Walker before, as he's made his way around the health podcast sphere. But if you don't know him, he's a PhD and professor of neuroscience and psychology at UC Berkeley, and the director of its sleep and neuroimaging lab. Matt's book was extremely well written, in my opinion. I really enjoyed it, and it happened to pair extremely well with the book, The Body Keeps the Score, as they both talk about the role of sleep and PTSD, which I happened to read right before. I will say that I think this book is more so theoretical about sleep and its implications and less about practical things to improve your sleep. But without further ado, let's dive in. One of the really interesting takeaways I got from this book was the differences between the stages of sleep. You're probably aware that there are two main phases of sleep, non-REM and REM sleep. REM stands for rapid eye movement, characterized by rapid eye movement and a loss of muscle tone in the body, but is known foremost for being the dream stage of sleep. Surprisingly, during REM sleep, your brain is actually up to 30% more active than it is during the day. If we were to look at a brain scan during REM sleep and compare it to the waking state, they're virtually indistinguishable. Walker theorizes that REM sleep was an integral part of humans developing our higher cognitive ability, including our creativity, problem-solving capacity, and emotional intelligence. What's also really fascinating about REM sleep is that the same parts of the brain responsible for movement during the day are being activated in your dreams, in the same manner as it does throughout the day when you're walking, talking, etc. The only thing that stops you from actually acting out these actions in real life is all the signals being relayed are cut off at the spinal cord from the rest of the body. It's almost as if your brain is separated from the rest of your body during sleep, like a floating head. In fact, this is the only way scientists are able to differentiate between REM sleep brain waves from wakeful ones, the immobilized lower body. While REM sleep gets all the fame, non-REM sleep is just as important. Non-REM sleep is really where all the magic takes place for memory and learning. Walker talks a lot about this, saying, "Sleep on it," and how magical sleep is for both creativity and improving physical habits like motor patterns. Walker describes the brain waves of non-REM sleep almost like waves passing through the ocean, slowly and methodically passing from one side of the brain to the other in a beautiful synchrony, like an orchestra playing together or doing the wave at your favorite sporting event. And what's happening with these beautiful synchronous brain waves is it's almost as if your brain is doing its internal filing, sorting through all the new information taken in throughout the day and storing it in its proper place for long-term use. To quote Walker, "We therefore consider waking brain wave activity as that principally concerned with the reception of the outside sensory world, while the state of deep, non-REM, slow-wave sleep detonates a state of inward reflection." Walker summarizes all three states with the following quote, quote unquote, "When it comes to information processing, think of the wake state principally as reception, experiencing and constantly learning the world around you. Non-REM sleep as reflection, storing and strengthening those raw ingredients of new facts and skills, and REM sleep as integration, interconnecting these raw ingredients with each other with all past experiences, and in doing so building an ever more accurate model of how the world works, including innovative insights and problem-solving abilities." Which brings me to an interesting tangent of PTSD. One of the underrated parts of dreaming is its ability to allow us to forget. Everyone has a painful or embarrassing memory, but one of the properties of sleep is that these memories, or at least the emotional attachment to them, fade over time. But this doesn't happen in those with PTSD. Their ability to fully access REM sleep is seemingly impaired, so every time they relive these memories, it's as though it's happening for the very first time. Which, if you really think about it, is pretty horrifying. Imagine being stuck in a loop of your worst memory, as real as it happened that very first time. On a more positive note, I found the information on sleep cycles very interesting. You've likely heard that we sleep in 90-minute cycles throughout the night, but you might not be aware that each cycle is different from the next. In the beginning of the night, most of our sleep is geared towards non-REM sleep, but as the night progresses, we spend more and more of our time in REM sleep. What's really crazy, though, is that this is relatively fixed in relation to our circadian rhythm, which is like our internal clock. Meaning that if you happen to go to sleep really late one night, you'll mostly get REM sleep, whereas if you wake up really early, you'll mostly get non-REM. For instance, Walker gives the example, if you wake up 2 hours earlier than your normal 8-hour cycle, you will lose out on about 25% of your sleep. But since most of your REM sleep occurs at the end of the night, you could potentially lose out on 60 to 90% of your REM sleep. Well, that's it for this episode, so remember to get in your 8 hours. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button and to share with a friend. And remember, these opinions are my own, based on my own research and experiences, and is not medical advice. Till next time, be good.